We come to this place for magic, to laugh,
To cry.
To care.
but most importantly, to argue about movies. We are
The Box Office Buzz.
My name is Tony Squares. As always, I'm joined by Kellerman and Alche, and today we are reviewing one of our favorite movies of the year, even though it may not have been a good movie. It's Mission Impossible 8 Time. This week is chock full of movie reviews, because tomorrow we're talking about Lilo and Stitch, and then on Thursday comes Karate Kid Legends, Alche's movie in the Fantasy Box Office League. League standings, all that stuff is there, but this episode is so chock full, we have to dive right in to Tom Cruise's 8th installment in the Mission Impossible franchise. And if you haven't seen this movie, the following review will be spoiler heavy. We tried to do this spoiler free. It wasn't working. We pressed record again because there's so much to get into with what we liked and what we didn't like about arguably the second or third worst Mission Impossible film, but a very fun one to see in theaters. Would you agree? Did you guys have a good time seeing this in the theater?
I had an absolute blast seeing this in the theater. It is not a good movie, but I had an absolute blast seeing it in the theater. It is 2 hours of insanity with 35 minutes of one of the best action sequences I have ever seen.
I want to flip that around. It's 2 hours of and then 35 minutes of insanity. Kellerman?
I thought it was more like 2 hours of followed by 35 minutes of the best action I've ever seen in my life.
The beginning of this movie, for the first hour, it's so exposition heavy. It tries to recap all 7 previous Mission Impossible franchises, including telling you, oh, remember the rabbit's foot from MI3 when we didn't tell you what was the rabbit's foot? It was just a thing. Well, actually, folks, we have the answer.
I loved that. Can I tell you? Let me just two quick things.
You did?
First of all, I did. First of all, I just rewatched recently all of the Mission Impossibles,
Yeah.
but watching MI3 and the rabbit's foot, they call it the anti-god. And when he said it, during this rewatch, having seen Dead Reckoning Part 1,
Yeah.
I was like, I wonder if this is related to the AI that is currently being done. And you had just said that on the last episode.
Yeah.
You mentioned that they had a bad guy that you didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Yes, this is good. This is a great.
This is good?
A great retcon / reveal.
Listen, you can bring something back from 5 movies ago. That's all well and good. But you didn't set the audience up for that at all in the first one.
But here's the thing. It reveals that Tom Cruise's character, Ethan Hunt, is ultimately the reason has been the reason for everything that's happening now in a chain reaction that started in Mission Impossible 3.
And
that's fantastic.
And it was definitely
storytelling.
planned.
I'm sorry. Say what you will.
J.J. Abrams
That's a good
definitely
one.
planned that when they made Mission Impossible 3.
Yeah. It's the
sure.
lost
yeah,
answer.
it would be brilliant and fantastic if there were breadcrumbs of it through the next 5. There was nothing until this time. I will
Perhaps.
say, it was great to see Philip Seymour Hoffman's face.
Loved it.
For the 14
Yeah.
seconds that it was
Sure.
on screen. I was like, Phil, he's back. I will say also, all the flashbacks to the previous movies reminded me, my God, Tom Cruise was a gorgeous man. Huh?
Very pretty man.
Yeah, still is.
Very pretty man.
He's
Well,
still a good-looking guy for his age, but then I was like, "Oh my God, Tom Cruise!"
a lot of
Good
things have been
God.
a lot of things have been pulled back.
He has a very different look in every single one of these
Yeah,
movies.
the hair. Tom Cruise hair,
Yeah.
man. There needs to be a study. It's like Tom Brady hair when he played in the NFL. It's just consistently different, and it's shocking to see it when you see the
I'll also
flashback.
say Tom Cruise's hair in this one inexplicably terrible. When he takes off the helmet, when Tom Cruise takes off the helmet and he's got helmet hair for a whole scene, I was like. He goes. You can go see him look at dailies and all the behind-the-scenes footage. He wasn't looking at those dailies saying, maybe we do a little something with my hair during that moment. Nah, let's just leave it. This is more realistic. Horrible hair.
Hey, man, when you're that age, you're working
Yeah.
with what you got. Okay,
Exactly. It's thinner than it used to be, but it still is
still
a
there.
very full head of hair.
And he's still very much an action hero, although we might want him to retire after this one. He was doing a lot, especially at the ending.
Incredible.
Kellerman, the lead up to this, though, the hour of exposition beforehand, the very long scuba scene, there were some moments that were really, really good, but were you a little, did you feel like you had to go to the bathroom during any of this?
Well, I'm chronically dehydrated, so I was fine without going to the bathroom. But
The Mountain Dew.
but I thought it was surprisingly confusing, considering how much exposition was being thrown at me at all times.
Deeply confusing.
All time.
I was constantly being hit with information about what was important, and then losing immediately What? Wait, what are we after?
Now, did did the recap of everything Tom Cruise has ever done as Ethan Hunt, and then followed by the recap of everything Tom Cruise has ever done as Ethan Hunt, and then the recap of Tom Cruise talking about everything he's ever done as Ethan Hunt? Was that a little bit too much for you, or did you get past it because every character was saying one line of the same speech?
Well, I like seeing all the old stuff. I'm a big Mission Impossible fan, and that was one thing that I did like about this movie. It did kind of feel like a love letter to the whole rest of the franchise.
It absolutely was a love letter to the whole rest of the franchise. That was an hour and a half too long. There was no reason this movie needed to be split into 2 movies. They could have. If there was actual good storytelling and writing happening, this should have been one movie that was 2.5 hours. Bing, bang, bop. Let's get to it.
Part 1 and part 2.
But the problem is they're figuring out every plot line
as they go.
After the movie ends. So they're like, oh, no, we actually got to do this, this, and this. And that's actually what the entity is. Oh,
I thought they did
God from the third one.
An incredible job of tying it all together. There were just too many things to tie together.
You know what I think would have helped if we extended the entity's 10-minute long monologue a little bit longer. I think that would have helped things as well. And speaking of the entity, I want to move on to the other bad guy in here. On the power rankings of bad guys in Mission Impossible movies, where does Gabriel rank, and why is it dead last?
Because
he's just a pawn.
He was awful. That character was so stupid for the entirety of both movies. I hated Gabriel.
I like him, but because he's such a flawed villain, because he thinks he's untouchable.
He's flawed. The flaw is one note. He's a one-note villain for 2 straight movies.
The AI has basically told him the future. How confident would you be?
At least
he plays
give me
that
something.
Perfectly. His confidence that it'll all just work out in his favor is dead on, and that's also what makes him so stupid. Because Tom Cruise is going to stop you.
I will say.
In fact.
Great ending for Gabriel.
Fantastic ending for Gabriel.
Yeah, very deserved. Definitely needed. What I found hilarious about Gabriel is the whole time on the plane scene, he's just going, ha, 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 ha.
That's all he does. That's all he does. That's all he did.
And then finally, he gets taken out of the thing, about to fall, and he's like, oh no, how'd this happen? Maybe because he just got punched in the face 3 times by Ethan Hunt. And then you're going,
I hated him so much.
It was wild to me how... This is the guy they chose to kill Rebecca Ferguson in the first one.
I know.
This is the guy who kills her.
He's just a pawn. He's not doing any of it. He's being told what to do by the AI.
You know who I have to give big kudos to in the whole movie? Haley Atwell. She understood the assignment. She loved Ethan.
She's just great.
She's so good. She's such a good actor. I think she's absolutely stunning and so likable that she played... I don't know if I love Ethan Hunt, but I have so much respect for him that I need to be around him so well, and kept that thread going the whole movie. Yeah. And it was great to see somebody perform beautifully on screen.
Can I say one thing about Haley Atwell's performance? Interesting camera angle on the resuscitation scene.
Dude, it was so wild.
That's all.
I was thinking that the whole time. I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
That's all I want to say. You do you, McQuarrie.
Yeah.
You do you.
McQuarrie. Unbelievable.
Look, there's not a lot of sex in the movie.
There's no kissing. Have you ever noticed that?
You gotta get it where you can.
There's rarely any kissing.
They don't even make
Tom
out.
Cruise kisses people.
It's rare. I've noticed it the past few movies.
There are more mouth-to-mouth resuscitations than romantic.
The last person he kissed was his wife, and that was back when he was married to her. No, even earlier. It might be 3.
We gotta hold on. We gotta talk about
his wife.
The Luther plot line in general.
Sure. One of my favorite characters.
Great character, phenomenal actor. Who doesn't love Ving Rhames?
Been there since the beginning. One of the few.
One of the best. Him and Simon Pegg. Yeah,
Simon Pegg came on a little bit later.
Came in 3.
Oh, really? Anyway, one of the best. Love him to death. Literally. But the scene.
Spoiler alert.
His pre-death scene when he's like, go on. Tom Cruise banging up against He
loves to hit things.
He loves to hit things. Banging up against the chain. Yeah. Banging up against the
grate.
The grate, if you will. No escalation in acting. Absolutely horrendous acting on Tom Cruise's part. No emotion happening on that man's face. Just
a little repetitive.
Just so repetitive. And you could tell the two of them were like, we're not in it, man. We're not in it, man. But Macquarie was like, we got it. It's fine. Let's move on.
I think there's something else that may have had something to do with Tom Cruise's stilted performance in this one.
Perhaps the excessive amount of Scientology and or Botox,
Maybe Botox
may hurt.
I think
may hurt.
A little...
But man, it was rough. And then I want to talk. We got to talk about the Luther monologue at the end. Heavy-handed would be an understatement with how ridiculous it was. It was trying to liken all of the Mission Impossibles to the world that's happening in front of us. We have to stand up for good, not give in to evil. It was so heavy-handed and horrendous, and it took me out of the movie completely.
I mean, it was only like 7 minutes. I don't know what your problem with it was.
Not the longest monologue in the movie.
Not the longest monologue in the movie. No, not at all. Best part, though, of that movie is, I believe, it's during that monologue, which kind of helped the heavy-handedness of it because it was arguably the most funniest part of the movie, unintentionally or intentionally. But Shea Wiggum's character, who is suddenly John Voight's son, by the way. He's John Voight's son.
Yeah.
Bring that back.
Also.
Shea Wiggum comes out and points a gun at Tom Cruise as they're slowly walking towards each other over a grassy plain. The camera zooms in on the gun, and then Shea slowly turns the gun around, and that hand turns into a handshake.
Now, how did that handshake go? They
handshake, and then they cut back to a 2-shot, and then they zoom in again so they can do a dap.
It was the slowest dap you've ever seen in your life.
It was. Me and Alche went to the same theater school growing up, and we had a teacher who's no longer there, and you'll know why soon enough. But one of our classes was spent doing hand sex, where two actors would put their hands close together and feel each other out to try and get emotions out of each other. I don't know. Don't pay money for acting school, kids, but that's what Shea and Tom were doing.
Especially this acting.
That's what Shea and Tom were doing. It was a slow-mo hand sex akin to Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Predator handshake. That's how awesome
it was. Wild.
It was.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was wild.
Yeah, that's going to be memed, I think.
But let's
100%.
dive.
We're memeing it for this very short.
Unbelievable. Let's dive into the only reason to watch this movie, and that is the plane sequence.
Oh, I was going to say Haley Atwell's resuscitation scene.
Well, that is maybe the only other reason to watch. But the plane sequence was magical. Over one of the most gorgeous mountains I've ever seen, the greenest mountains you'll ever see in the world.
It was so pretty.
As many spectacular things as I've seen Tom Cruise do in these movies, this was easily the most breathtaking and spectacular and the longest. It
just kept going.
I kept thinking wow, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And then he jumped from one plane to another, and I'm like, wow, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Then he's hanging on by one hand from a strap, and I'm like, this just keeps getting more and more incredible.
The people next to me were like, oh my God, oh no, oh God. It was the first time in a long time that I was like, I think he's going to fall, and if he falls, he will die.
You know what my favorite part about the plane scene was? The fact that the guy that he took the plane from was this dude in 8 movies we've never seen heads or tails of, but suddenly he shows up with his hand on a bomb button, and he's one of the most important characters in Mission Impossible.
Great.
Didn't have any lines, just looked like a creepo albino dude, and suddenly he's flying a plane that Ethan Hunt has to take over.
I will say one of my favorite parts of that moment too, Ethan Hunt climbing, they lock eyes, and the guy's like, basically asking, what are you going to do? And Ethan Hunt's like, I'm going to punch you in the face. The slow motion, like, huh. And then one punch, and he's like,
it's so good.
This ending, the plane scene was excellent. You should see it in theaters. I will say, this ending, to me, was so much. Like, if the first hour of this Mission Impossible movie was recapping all the Mission Impossibles, the ending was every Mission Impossible ending going into one. Not only is there a plane chase that's preceded by a foot chase, that's preceded by a car crash, that's preceded by a car chase, there's also a shootout that leads to someone having to get open lung surgery on them, sticking a pen through them while they're hacking into a mainframe, while they're trying to stop nuclear fallout, while the president is having an assassination attempt placed on her, and there's a bomb outside that the characters we just met need to undo and get rid. Like, there's so much going on, Kellerman.
I will say, when you layer that, you're like, that's Mission Impossible.
It's too much. It's too much.
Easily the most convoluted of the series.
Not only that, his parachute sets on fire. He has to get a safe. Like, there's so many things that are happening.
I thought he was done for. I thought that was the last we'd ever seen of Ethan Hunt.
I did too. I thought that the thing was. I thought that him snapping the thing into place was the last time we were going to see.
You really thought it was going to be third?
I really did. Well, we've been set up by the last James Bond movie to think that
that might end a character.
That's how they end the character.
I gotta ask, what did you guys think of the underwater sequence? It's
very long.
Too long.
They are flaunting this thing as the greatest underwater sequence you will ever see. So long, so much going on, some amazing stuff going on throughout. But 45 minutes,
long scene.
Long scene.
Really pretty. Don't get me wrong. There are parts that are really, really pretty, especially with the lights shooting out of his suit and stuff. Very, very dumb, very convoluted, and very illogical. The ending, if we want to really get into it.
I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I kept feeling throughout the whole underwater sequence. I kept feeling like I should be feeling more on edge than I am right now.
Can I say I pulled a great
wasn't building.
I pulled a great like professional veteran moviegoer's move during that sequence because as soon as I sat down, I had to pee. Like as soon as I sat down, I had to pee.
That feels like not a great veteran movie.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Like sometimes, hey, you got to roll with the punches.
He's getting
sometimes.
to the submarine that they've been after for the last movie and a half.
You got to roll with the punches sometimes. No, because as he came when he descended with the submarine thing, I'm sitting there going like, "This still got a long. I got to find. I don't think I'm going to be able to hold it, or do I just sit here in pain the whole time?" And then when he actually gets into the submarine, I'm like, you know what? There's going to be about 15 minutes here of him searching this submarine. I got a chance. Went out, came back. He hadn't even gotten to the entity yet. I was like, perfect. Did it perfectly. Fair. I missed nothing.
That's fair.
Yeah. That's fair.
You could have honestly missed the whole sequence and not really miss that much. Plot-wise.
You know what my biggest question of the whole movie is? I mean, maybe my biggest question. I have many questions, but my biggest question of the whole movie is
why is the Inuit woman not able to speak English after being with a man for 30 straight years?
That is certainly one of the biggest questions. Sure, She probably should have been able to speak some English. Making an Inuit woman silent. Not my favorite thing you've done.
Silent.
It's left and right. She's with the love of her life for 30 years.
It's a comedic moment.
They can't say left and right. You can't say sleep. You have to make a sign like she's a 3-year-old. What are we doing?
Yeah, it was wild. But no. How does Luther know the exact size to make the poison pill? He hasn't seen the thing to put the slot in, but yet he makes the perfect USB device to kill the entity, and you're like, okay, I guess I'm going to go along with this.
I mean, both things are non-existent technologies, so...
None of it makes... And then we have the cool 5D thing, 5D USB.
This is an extra-large USB.
Extra-large USB. It's like 3 terabytes just for the entity.
Wait, we haven't even created 4D yet. No, this is 5D.
And you know what? Haley Atwell has to be the one to do it because...
She's got the fastest hands.
Hands in the West.
They set that up in the first movie?
Sure.
She did it, and the crowd cheered when we were in the theater.
Crowd went wild.
I will say they did build the tension nicely.
That was
with the music.
That was a great. I thought that was a great.
Simon
moment.
Pegg falling asleep every so often was pretty funny.
You know, actually, I'm realizing now what the problem was with the underwater sequence. The reason I didn't feel there was much tension, everything seemed to actually go according to plan, with the exception of like maybe the missiles moving around while he was like in there,
and him having to dodge his suit in freezing cold water, 500 feet underneath the surface of the ice. You thought that went according to plan?
Him drowning was part of the plan. So like we're gonna have to resuscitate him and use this thing to
I'm gonna take off my entire suit. I'm gonna kick and I'm gonna kick and then I'm gonna fetal and then you're gonna pull me out. Okay, you got it.
They said that was part of the plan.
Of course, totally part of the plan. Foolproof. All right, if you were going to rank this movie in the Mission Impossibles, where would you rank it?
I think it's third from the bottom for me. I really did not have too much. I will never see this movie again. Put it that way. I will never, ever see this movie again. And if I do, it's just the final 30 minutes.
I think I agree. Well, not that I won't ever watch it again, but that it's weaker than the previous 4.
I thought it was better than part 1.
I did too.
I thought it was better than part 1.
I don't like part 1 at all.
I hated part 1 was a snooze fest.
Yeah, until the final.
Yeah, part 1 was rough. So for me, it's like 2.
I didn't feel that
part 1, and then just above that is this one.
Same.
I'm never watching this movie again. And I probably, like I said in my instant review, it's a C movie for me.
Yeah,
I'll
C-.
I'll say this, good or bad, these movies, the Mission Impossible movies in general, and I say this especially because I just rewatched all of them at home, and I have a big screen TV, but it's not the same as seeing it on an IMAX screen or a theater experience. Yeah. These movies are made to be seen in a theater. The experience is so much better in a theater than sitting at home.
Absolutely. It makes the 2 hours and 45 minutes worth it. Absolutely.
Truly.
And you got a perfect moment in the middle to go to the bathroom, so it's not
right where to
2:45
go to the
straight.
bathroom.
I will say a lot of people did see this in the movies because it is the most profitable Mission Impossible opening weekend of all time. 63 million over 3 days domestically, 77 million over the full Memorial Day weekend, 204 million worldwide. Again, the most profitable Mission Impossible of all time. Tom, I know this means you people are going to be like, well, when's MI9 coming? So much success.
Well,
good, you're good. You're good. Take your time. You're good. You
I
can
don't know,
retire.
bud.
We love you. You're good.
He's the only one who's got control of the entity. He opens the box that Haley Atwell gives him, looks at it, and he's got a little smirk on his face going, I'm going to hold on to this for just a little bit.
Walk off into the sunset.
He just recently stated that he wants to be the first 100-year-old action movie star.
We're good.
I think
good.
he's going to be.
I think he's going to be.
I'm real nervous to see him have to actually act again in the next Iñárritu movie, but that's a whole other conversation. 63 mil at the box office. How much worldwide?
204 over 4 days. 204, which really
Amazing.
changed our fantasy box office league standings, which we will be talking about in tomorrow's episode. Again, if you're watching this, you wanted to learn about Mission Impossible, thank you so much for helping us grow, liking, subscribing. We do appreciate the help because tomorrow we're talking about my movie, the biggest movie of the weekend and maybe the year so far. It's a Lilo and Stitch review, and I can't wait to get into it because I'm finally alive in the fantasy box office league. But boys, any last words you want to say to Tom or about Mission Impossible in general?
Thanks for bringing us to the theaters, bud. You are a psychopath who really, really went for it with that plane scene. It was incredible. Get thee to a theater. Get there. It's worth it. It's absolutely worth it.
Yeah, I just appreciate that. It really is, especially in a day where we see so much CGI. It is a fantastic filmmaking feat, and I hope he doesn't stop.
And I will end with saying they brought back literally a piece of every single movie for this movie, which I really enjoyed, except no MI2 references. Tom, why was that?
Who cares?